So you want to leave your 9-to-5 job, but you're not really sure if you're ready. Don't worry, I have totally got your back. And in this video, I'll go through 3 simple steps to help you decide if you're ready to take that leap. I'm Lucy Wheeler and I'm the founder of the legal templates business, Lucy Legal. I provide template documents to online businesses to help that step from jumping into entrepreneurship and make it just that little bit easier. I myself have recently taken the leap, so I thought it was the perfect time to chat to you all about how you're going to know if you're going to feel ready. And I think that this is something that people talk about quite a lot, to be honest. There's lots of people who say, is it going to be a side hustle forever? And I know when I was in the industry beforehand, when I was trying to do both and I had a side business, people would ask me and say, when are you taking the leap? And to be honest, I wasn't focusing on it. It wasn't a thing. It was something that was evolving over time. And I think that's something that can be really helpful to you if you're in this position, because you might be desperate to take the leap. But I'm going to chat to you about 3 things that I really want you to think about before you leave your 9-to-5. The first thing is that there's going to be some sort of turning point. There's going to be a point where you realize, is this it? Watched any of my videos before, you'll hear me talk about the fact of when I'd made it as a lawyer. It was about 5 years ago. I was sat in a London-based office where I'd got a window seat. That was my aim. Wanted my own office, and it was a shared office, and the window seat obviously back straight onto another building, as they do in the city. And I was like, I've done it. I have made it, and I'd got what I wanted, but it definitely didn't feel how I wanted it to. I just sort of thought, am I going to do this for the next 30 plus years? And that was the realization that I wanted to change my life. And so it happened at that point, and that doesn't mean that you then take the leap. I think that's pretty dangerous, actually. I think people often feel like that there should be this decision and then they should do it, and that's not necessarily going to happen. People don't necessarily feel like they're able to take the leap right away, and that's absolutely fine. So don't feel like you have to take the leap if you're just not ready yet. The first thing is to get that realization and think, right, what am I going to do? Because this leads us on to step 2. Now, step 2 is to make sure that you have built up your exit plan, that you have an exit plan in place. I do not recommend just taking a leap. There are times in your life when your job's going to make you unhappy. It was always my aim never to cry in the office, which I didn't ever do. But a lot of people did. The legal world is quite tough. There can be a lot of not very nice people. The firms that I worked in, I was really lucky. I worked with a lot of brilliant people, but not everybody has that. And it's not just the legal world either. A sure way to make yourself stressed and upset and worried is to take the leap before you're ready. And I think that that's a real risk. My recommendation, and you'll obviously have to check your terms of employment and make sure if necessary that you have written permission, because you don't want them to know you have a business, but then later say that they don't know. So make sure you have written permission if you're doing an extra job in your spare time. And it might be just something that you love. It might be a passion. I think I've said before, actually, I started out just before I went to uni. I set up my own business, a shop selling luxury handbags and jewelry. And then as soon as I qualified, I'd set up a fitness business, and I was working doing that, and then I became a personal trainer. So I always had another business that I was working on. I always had another passion project that I would do in my spare time. And it's really important that you keep that distinction, that you always prioritize your paid work, but that you test out your idea. So perhaps you are thinking of starting a course, perhaps you're a brilliant artist and you want to sell your designs on Etsy, perhaps set up your shop first, see what the response is like, perhaps you want to be a personal trainer. There's so many options open to you to do your business, but you want to make sure that you've tested it out properly. As I said, it wasn't my intention. I wasn't like, I need to leave my job. I was just following my passion with all the things that I was doing. But in that time, I have learned so much about business, which has meant that this second business, so Lucy Legal, the legal templates business that I have, has propelled into something huge, because I know about automation. So I'd automated all of that. So I'd got it working away by itself, didn't need much input from me. I know how to use social media. I know how to do email marketing and all the automation for that. So that you can have a business that is bringing money in. And I'm not saying that that's how you'd run your business. So once you go full-time in your business, you might be like, well, I obviously want to be part of it. I don't want it all running on automation and not do anything at that point. And that's fine. But have you got a viable business idea that people are interested in? So the first thing is knowing that you don't want to live your life in that way anymore. But the second thing is having this clear plan and testing something out and making sure it's going to bring in an income and spending some time with an accountant. And now I work with a fabulous accountant. She helps me with all of the financial side of things so that it's all sorted. Because again, you want to know that you're going to have a pension. That was one of the things that really scared me, was that, well, what, like, I can't take the leap because I have a corporate salary, I have a pension, I have stability. Well, if you're managing to do something and test it out, yeah, sure, the amount might quite not be there, especially at the start, but you can test it out to see if there's crickets or not. And believe me, I've done things in other businesses where I've launched and thought, this is amazing, and nobody's bought it. And I'm not going to be someone who sits here and says everything I've ever done has always been successful. But I think testing things out and learning as you go means that you're not going to be worried. I think a lot of people don't take the leap because they're worried about failure. That's, if we're really honest, they're not worried about if it's going to succeed. They're worried about, well, what would they say? And what would they think? And I remember reading an article about leaving the legal profession and starting up on your own. And I could not believe the audacity of it was male people who'd written it. And they said, oh, often women leave the industry because of childcare reasons, and they will come back and they may try and start their own business. And make sure you think about what you'll say to people when you rejoin the profession. And I just thought, oh, how can you possibly suggest that someone's going to fail in that way, and what they would say? And I thought, well, if they say to me, what have you been doing for the last 5 years? I'd say, I've been working on my business and following my dreams. And this is what I've learned. Because that's the thing as well, all of this knowledge that you get when you're an entrepreneur, it's amazing for business. You see a different side of business that can revolutionize the way that other businesses in the corporate world work. There's lots of things that you can take from your corporate life and put into your business as an entrepreneur, which will really set you ahead. So many good practices that way, and it works the other way. And I think also, if you're working on your business, say in your spare time, say you love music and you're teaching people music and you're setting up how-to videos or how to make something, you're worried that what people might think. Because that's another thing. It's not just the fear about money and the fear about failure. You're worried what people are going to think, aren't you? And it's about thinking about, well, if I start telling people, they're going to know I'm doing this. They're going to know it's a passion project. They're not going to think, oh, she's just had this idea and like this isn't going to work. Because if you say, oh, what were you doing on the weekend? Oh, I was teaching students how to play a musical instrument. I was teaching them online in these Zoom courses, and it was incredible. Or I've got this real special artistry skill and I teach people how to make cakes or cookies, and I have people all over the world watching my videos. I mean, that's amazing. And if that is your gift and you want to share it with the world, start doing it. Start doing it. Don't think this has got to make money. Think about what lights you up and do that, because if you're in it for the money, you won't really be successful. I haven't seen anybody who's only financially driven be successful. You've got to have passion about it too. I think that also leads me on to the third thing as well, which is really important when you are thinking about whether you can do this and whether it's the right time, is not to put any pressure on yourself. Those two previous stages might take a few months, it might take a few years, it might take you like a realization point. You might have keep thinking of ideas and then have that realization point quite quickly, but it may take you a year or more. I think it's taken me 4 or 5 years until I felt like I was in the position and where so many circumstances came together to make me want to leave my job. And it wasn't something I'd actually fully planned. Like, I didn't know I was going to leave. Step 3, sort of the final point, is that I think you need to think about your life in 5 years' time. So take a moment now, I'll slow down, take a moment and just think about yourself in 5 years, or if you can, just in a year's time. So just take a pause and take a deep breath and think, right, what is my life going to look like in 5 years' time? You're obviously going to be working. This is not like a dream or like you've won the lottery, because that's going to be nice. It's not going to happen, is it? You are responsible for your own destiny. And the incredible thing is you can create it. In the world that we have at the moment with the internet, it just brings people together. It can connect you with a whole world of billions of customers. if you pitch the right product to them or the right service. If you wake up tomorrow morning, imagine your day and imagine what it looks like, and just take a really deep breath and think that through. Like, where will you wake up? Will you wake up in your house? Will you move to a new one? What will you be about to do for the day? Will you be waking up and having a brilliant morning with lunch, breakfast at home with your family, taking your dog for a walk, maybe doing a workout? Is that morning really slow and steady and how you dream it to be? Or are you still on the commute? Are you still going to get the tube into work, sitting in traffic? Because if you move into this life that you do want to live, and you've created a life where you run your own business, you might be working at home. You might walk out into an office, which is in your own courtyard, or into a shed that you've changed into an office, or just upstairs into the room which has become your office. You'll go and you'll do the work that you're really, really passionate about and that you love, and that there's clients who are there and they're paying you money. And if that is your dream, if maybe you're hosting yoga retreats, or it could be anything that you're doing, but you can do it. And that's what's so exciting. So if you've got to the point where you can see that in 5 years, you could be doing that, and that you could be doing that in real life, and that this isn't just a dream, that you've not created something that's so absurd like winning the lottery, but you can say, okay, how do I need to get there? So I've got 5 years to make this happen. Do I even need 5 years? Or could I do it in a year or 6 months? And what amount of money would make me feel stable? When do I need to remortgage, or when will my mortgage come up, so that I'm not trying to do that just as I left my job? And what kind of savings will I have in place? Who do I need to speak to? And that's why it's so powerful to do that step before, where you start creating this network and you join forces with people like me, someone who has all the legal stuff. So maybe the legal things worry you. Right, I'll speak to Lucy and get the legal templates that I need. Other lawyers, obviously, speak to them if you want legal protection putting in place. Speak to an accountant, speak to a financial advisor. There are so many people that you can speak to, and you can start creating this list, and all of a sudden you'll think, that's not that far away. It's not going to be too far away for me to achieve that goal. And I think that once you go through those 3 stages, and you are then imagining yourself living a life you love, you're so close to making it your reality. And I am so excited for you. I really, really hope that you've loved this video. I have so enjoyed sharing it with you on my 3 tips for how you can start creating the life of your dreams. If you've enjoyed it, please subscribe by hitting the subscribe button below, and obviously hit the thumbs up too to like it. And please also share with your friends. I'm Lucy Wheeler, and I've loved chatting to you today. Take care. Bye.